Have you ever looked at your marketing spend and wondered why you might be paying so much for the results that you're getting? Or maybe you're watching your cost per lead, cost per acquisition climb through the roof and thought, man, we have got to find a way to spend less to grow our business. Have you ever been at the place where you felt that your results were not going to keep up with the pace of growth that you're expecting? That was exactly what happened in a conversation that I had with a business owner just a few weeks ago. And this isn't a issue that was just this one business owner who, by the way, over 5 million in revenue, 5 years in business, chasing a large competitor in the marketplace, B2C, professional service, high ticket purchase, something we'll talk about in this episode, discretionary, not emergency. We'll dig into that in just a moment. But what do you do when you are wanting to grow and scale your business, but you reach this threshold of pain because you believe that I'm spending way too much to grow my business and I don't see it being sustainable, which, by the way, when you're spending 14, 15% of revenue, it tells me you're a growth minded founder. It tells me that you're chasing big dreams. And that is exactly who this episode is for. My name is Darrell Evans. If this is the first time you've been here, this is Mindshift. And inside our agency, we spend a lot of time working with clients exactly like this. Most of the time, when a company comes to us, they have grown their business to a place where somehow things have gotten stuck, or there's a point of stickiness, there's a point of irritation, there's a point of frustration, there's a point of concern about how to go to the next level. By the way, a company who gets to 5 million or more in revenue is a fraction of all companies on the planet. So shout out to not just that particular business owner, but shout out to any business who's made it north of $1 million in revenue, because you sit in about 8% of all businesses in the world. That being said, what we tend to try to do is diagnose the journey to get here. We then look at trying to apply our SOS method, which simply means when we are trying to get out of a place, we don't want to build a 12-month plan. We don't want to build a 24-month plan. What we want to do is figure out, what have we done today that's been going well? What do we want to find out are the gaps as to why we might be feeling this pain of too high cost of acquisition? Maybe we're spending too much. Maybe we're not focused where we want to. We're still not closing the gap on this competitor. And then we want to figure out, what do we need to optimize in the middle? So in our model, we call it SOS. That is, we want to figure out what we need to stop doing that we think we're doing well, because inside of that, we might be doing something that we shouldn't be doing. And number two, we want to look at what needs to be optimized around what we're currently doing. In this particular case, we're talking about a $60,000 plus $70,000 a month ad spend in one channel. We'll get to that in just a moment. And then what we want to do is figure out what we need to start doing so that we can mitigate this pain or frustration that a business owner might be feeling in this situation. So what we want to do is identify a couple of key ideas we want to deal with over the next 90 to 120 days, something we want to stop doing, something we want to optimize, and something we want to start doing so we can bring that balance of frustration back in alignment. I've seen this pattern now over 15 years of helping companies generate well over $300 million at our agency. So for me, when I'm in a call like this, when I'm looking at it, I'm sort of acting like a doctor, and I'm listening to the patient's concerns. I'm listening to the vital signs. I'm listening to the metrics, if you will. And believe it or not, it's, for us, it's like an X-ray, like instantly snaps. So I'm going to walk you through three big ideas that we would apply in this particular pattern when we see it with any type of business. And I want to give you a couple of distinctions that are really important related to a business to consumer service business that is in a non-discretionary product journey. This is going to make a lot of sense for you, I hope. So let's actually start there. Let's start with this idea of making sure you understand, and we always come back to it in our framework, which you can download a copy of our framework down in the description below. One of the things we always talk about is this an emergency for the consumer, for the buyer, for the purchaser, or is it a discretionary purchase? There's a big difference in how those people operate. There's a big difference in the triggering events. People don't buy because your product's good. They don't buy because they care about your thing. They buy because of their reasons, not our reasons, on their timeline, not our timeline. They buy with what they think is affordable, not what you think is affordable, right? So we spend a lot of time worrying about and working through the buyer psychology of your ideal customers. When we look at this business, they clearly have grown and understand how to sell to their customer. But let's jump into this idea that when you're selling a high ticket product or service, in this case, north of a $10,000 purchase, we have to remember that if this isn't an emergency type of purchase, then you can almost find that your early success in a channel like Google, which is where this channel is performing extremely well, which is where 90% of their $70,000 a month is being spent, you can find yourself over leveraged in one channel. So, one of the things that we instantly notice is that when we're only operating in the bottom of the funnel in the acquisition, what we call transactional keyword database inside of Google, then we are obviously going to be in a game of supply and demand. Now, let's zoom out for just a little bit. Let's think about what's changed since 2024. In the May of 2024, we saw AI overviews start to take over the top page of Google for a lot of searches. In the last 18 months leading into the time of recording this, we will know that AI is not just an AI overview thing, but the proliferation and adoption of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Google AI mode, Meta's AI, Grok. Now, search is no longer in one channel called Google. But let's think about what actually happened in the last 18 months. In the last 18 months, if you were in business doing well with search engine optimization, which by the way, this particular brand was not doing, so they were doing the right thing, going after acquisition the right way, we would never suggest that when you're a startup in the sub 5-year mark, that the first thing you do out of the gate is SEO. That's not really a good play. But in the last 12 to 18 months, here's what supply and demand curves have changed. Those who are doing well with search engine optimization have now been pushed down the page, and they're no longer getting the traffic because of AI overviews. They're no longer getting the traffic because of Google AI mode. They're losing traffic because of social media and other AI tools where people are now conversating and chatting with tools. So traffic is going down. So how do you mitigate getting traffic into your acquisition funnel? You end up having more people going to paid ads. It's simple law of supply and demand. It's simple economic concept. But when you're running the business, you don't really see it that way. We see it that way because we've been running ads for 15 years now. We've been doing SEO for 15 years now. I've been actually in the space of marketing for 25, almost 30 years. I know exactly what this situation looks like. So what do we talk to this particular company about? What do we talk to businesses that are in this pattern? Number one, they're over leveraged in Google. Point blank, period, end of story. By the way, is it reasonable, which is what the ask was, is it reasonable to think that you're overspending by 50%, by 100% to acquire these customers? The answer is no. The issue is the cost per acquisition goes up because there's so much demand for so little supply. What do I mean by so little supply? Well, there's only 4 spots at the top of Google where they run ads. It used to be 3, now it's 4, and of course they put ads throughout some other places, but the first page of Google also looks completely different. So the first thing we want to stop doing is we want to stop being one-sided in this particular example and investing almost 100% of our money in Google. So Darrell, what do you do then how do you mitigate the over leveraging Google without cannibalizing the current model of business? The next thing we want to think about is optimizing, right? So when we think about optimizing, the first thing we want to do before we start to draw back or pull back or diversify away from a Google ad spend campaign is we want to start thinking about 5 years of history in this particular company and all of the customers that they have served over 5 years. Well, what does that do? Well, inside of that model, we are going to have a database of ideal purchasers who've made the buying decision at some point in the past over 5 years. One of the most simplest things any of you can do, and in this case, we would recommend here, is we would take that database and we would start building lookalike campaigns, even though people will tell you lookalike campaigns are not that effective. What we would do is start running ads in social media platforms, specifically Meta, Facebook and Instagram. Why? Because they have the richest database of buyer behavior that's not on Google. What that allows us to do is for a very simple, I don't want to use a technical term here, but we can run very low CPM, cost per mil, which is the cost to reach 1,000 people. We can run very low CPM campaigns on Meta to offset that high cost of acquisition on Google. Now, why is that important? Well, you say, well, maybe I'm not on social media thinking about buying something for $10,000. Well, you're probably not in that moment. But if you're the ideal person who looks like the last 300, 400, 500 customers we've helped, then Meta knows how to find those people because they are exhibiting behaviors both on and off social that ties into Meta's algorithm, ties into Meta's AI. Meta right now is as good as anyone at finding someone who's scrolling social media. I don't have my phone close by. Yeah, I got they're scrolling social media, and all of a sudden, because they've been talking to their spouse, or they've been talking to their friend, or they've been talking to the girlfriend, or talking to their friend at work about doing this thing, this high ticket thing, even though they're not maybe ready to do it today, they're looking, and then all of a sudden, Meta has heard those conversations, seen them click on the ads, seen them click on the website, seen them click inside of the Facebook group, seen them comment on their friends who have done the thing, and they know how to find your perfect exact customer. So thing number one is we've got to figure out what we are doing inside of the Google platform that could be a little over leveraged. Are there some ways that we can stop being over leveraged in that one channel? Second thing is we want to think about, how do we optimize, right? How do we optimize the results that the company has already generated? And most of the time, we say it all the time, we call it, they're sitting on gold in their CRM and they don't even know it. What does that mean? They haven't prospected properly to get referrals or reviews. Number two, they're not leveraging this idea of expanding their target market based on the database, the rich database of their existing customers who've already bought it. They don't even know how to do it. And by the way, it's not terribly difficult to do this stuff. You just have to understand where it fits into the strategy. The thing that we want to do to kind of wrap this up is just a high level. I'm not going to give you the whole 7 components of the strategy we provided for them. But the third thing in the SOS method, in this case, is what should they start doing, right? What should they start doing? In a way, the optimize was part of what we should be starting doing, but more specifically, what we have to start doing is we have to start understanding that there are likely people in the database who never converted. When you're putting $60, $70, $80,000 a month in Google Ads, we inevitably find that there are hundreds, if not thousands of leads unconverted sitting in the pipeline. Hundreds, if not thousands. Here's why I know. One of the things that a company that's growing at this level gets focused on is getting the call, getting the estimate, getting the deal done, getting the installation, getting the service provided. They're focused in the delivery, the acquisition and the delivery. What they don't have time for, generally speaking, is they don't have time to build a proper nurturing system and sequence for the people that are going to buy later. I'll close with this and wrap this up. One of my most important lessons in marketing and business growth in sales acquisition is that there's only 2 times when someone's going to buy. One is now and the other is later. And the quicker you understand that the vast majority, call it 90+% of people, will be in the later category, but all of your marketing and sales acquisition and energy and ad spend is built on now acquisition, that's inevitably why you'll be spending $500, $600, $700 to acquire a booked appointment, or $500, $600, $700 to acquire a lead, a sales qualified lead. We're not talking about ebooks or downloads or webinars. Please understand, we're talking about sales leads. That's what we do. We help companies drive sales leads. You know, when a company tells us we need the phone to ring and never stop ringing, when we need our calendar full with people booking appointments. When I think about this attorney that we work with, she says, my only definition of a lead is when someone shows up at my office ready to give me money. I mean, that's the type of companies we work with. And it sounds funny when I laugh about it, because we know there's more to the story, but that's what companies care about. That's what founders care about. When you're trying to grow, you want to stay focused at the bottom of the funnel. But the reality is 90+% of your most qualified buyers are going to buy later, even if they have the budget now, even if they have the authority to do so now, even if they seemingly have the need now. The goal of your marketing, when done properly, is to build for the later buyer. And the key is, one of the biggest distinctions I've ever gotten in my life in marketing and growing businesses is build your business around the later sequence, and you'll get as many of the now sequence buyers as you can imagine. So when we come in with SOS, in this particular example, over the years, 15 years, not just this particular founder, business owner, congratulations, by the way, if he happens to be watching this, he knows who he is A, got your business to 5, you want to get to 20, want to get to 30. These are the types of small tweaks that you can't see when you're in the middle of it. A, great job killing Google. However, Google's going to become a thorn in your side because of supply and demand, not because the campaign's wrong, not because the people doing it's wrong, but because we just haven't thought about the rest of the buyer's journey. And 90% of the next level of growth will come out of the bucket of later buyers, not just spending more, not just trying to cut CPA, which we will. Let me be clear. We will. It is a little high. We will cut it, but that's not going to triple the business. And so I wanted to share this with you today, largely because I love these types of sessions every week. I love the opportunity to talk to business owners, whether they end up working with us or not. Everybody doesn't work with us, of course, when they call in, but it's really interesting how we can quickly map an SOS method that they can either run with themselves or they can partner with us to drive that first 90, 120 day sprint. So I hope this was helpful in some way. No matter where you are, even if you're not at north of 5 million yet, if you're at the $1 million mark, even if you're less than that, I mean, the bottom line is there's something that you're doing right now that you maybe need to stop doing. You think is going well, you just need to stop or tweak. There's something you need to optimize that you're probably just sitting on, you're not even recognizing it. And the third thing is there's something you need to start doing to capture more of the end result. If you found this helpful at all today, we do have our complete framework of how we think about marketing and growth. We do think about it a bit differently. We are, of course, Mindshift. And that link down below, you can download that for free. And I think there's a free set of emails behind it that'll help walk you through the thought process. If you found this helpful today, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more. And if you like this video today, there should be a video popping up here or here. I think they're going to put it here, and it might be helpful for you. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.